Your employment is terminated, effective immediately.
No, please, I need this
The
job.
decision is final. Please leave.
Please.
Stop crying.
Get her out of here. The words cut through the marble hall like a blade. A gun clicked. Someone screamed. And the man everyone feared in Seoul finally stood up. Not slowly. Not calmly. Violently. His chair crashed backward as he looked at the trembling black woman on her knees, her uniform torn, her name badge already ripped from her chest. "Touch her," he said, his voice quiet, terrifyingly controlled, "and none of you leave this room alive." 3 things happened at once. The guards froze. The man holding the gun lowered it. And the woman realized the Korean mafia boss was looking at her like she was the only thing in the world. What if the woman humiliated and fired in public wasn't weak? What if the most dangerous man in the city had been watching her in silence for months? What if the moment she was discarded was the moment he chose war? Music drops, then slowly builds again. This is not a love story. This is a survival story. Her name was Aisha. Most people never bothered to learn it. To them, she was just the maid. The foreign girl who cleaned quietly, bowed politely, and disappeared before anyone had to acknowledge her existence. She was 26, from Senegal, and Seoul was never meant to be permanent. She worked in one of the most exclusive private clubs in Gangnam, the kind of place where men wore tailored suits and spoke in half sentences, where the drinks were imported and the doors were soundproof. She cleaned the rooms where deals were made. She poured tea for men who never thanked her. She learned early not to look directly at anyone's eyes, because eyes asked questions, and questions led to trouble. Every morning, she tied her hair back, slipped into her modest uniform, and reminded herself of one thing. Just survive. Just get through the day. Aisha had learned survival young. Her mother died when she was 16. Her father disappeared into debt and shame 2 years later. Korea wasn't a dream. It was an escape. She sent money home every month. She slept in a tiny rented room with peeling wallpaper and a single window facing another wall. At night, when the city lights dimmed, she would whisper to herself in English, soft and steady like a promise. One more day. She didn't know when it started. The feeling of being watched. At first, she thought it was paranoia. Then instinct. There was one room in the club she hated cleaning. The private upper lounge. Black marble floors. Heavy curtains. A faint smell of smoke and expensive cologne. Men didn't talk loudly there. They whispered. And every time she entered, the air felt heavier, like it remembered violence. That was where he sat. Always in the same seat. Kang Jin-Ho. She didn't know his name at first, only his presence. Tall. Broad shoulders. Still as a statue. He never spoke to her. Never looked at her directly. But Aisha felt him. Like a shadow that moved when she wasn't looking. The staff whispered about him when they thought she couldn't understand Korean. That's him. The chairman's successor. He doesn't forgive. Someone once said quietly, people disappear around him. Aisha focused on the floor. On the table. On anything but him. But sometimes she caught it. His reflection in the glass. Dark eyes. Unreadable. Watching her like he was memorizing the way she breathed. He was the most dangerous man in Seoul, and she was the woman who refilled his tea without shaking. Jin-Ho noticed that first. The steadiness. Everyone else trembled around him. Even men twice her size. But the foreign maid. Her hands were calm. He had seen fear before. Real fear. This wasn't it. She moved with quiet purpose, efficient, careful, dignified. And when a drunk executive once grabbed her wrist, she didn't scream. She met his eyes and said, softly but firmly, "Please let go." The room went silent. Jin-Ho had watched. He hadn't intervened. Not because he didn't care, because he wanted to see what she would do. And she handled it herself. From that day on, his attention sharpened. He began to notice details. The way she favored her left side when she was tired. The faint scar at her hairline. The way she flinched at raised voices, but not threats. Jin-Ho understood trauma. He carried it like a second spine. He had inherited the Kang organization at 32, after his uncle died in a car accident that everyone knew was an execution. Power had come with blood. He ran his empire cleanly, efficiently, without cruelty unless necessary. Loyalty mattered to him. Control mattered more. Love. He had buried that concept with his brother. So when he found himself waiting for the sound of her footsteps in the hallway, he didn't question it. He told himself it was habit. Then one night, Aisha came home late. Very late. Jin-Ho noticed, because his driver mentioned it casually. The maid left an hour after her shift ended, sir. Jin-Ho didn't respond. But something tightened in his chest. The next night, it happened again. And again. On the fourth night, she didn't come to work at all. The club manager was furious. She's becoming unreliable, he snapped. Foreigners always are. Jin-Ho said nothing. But his men were already moving. He learned the truth within 24 hours. Aisha had been taken. Not kidnapped. Cornered. A supplier's son. Drunk. Entitled. He had followed her. Threatened her job. Demanded silence. Aisha had refused. That was her mistake. Jin-Ho stood in his private office as the report finished. His face didn't change, but the glass in his hand shattered. When Aisha returned to work 2 days later, her eyes were hollow. Her uniform hid bruises. She kept her head down more than ever. The manager called her out in front of everyone. Careless, late, disrespectful. People stared. Phones came out. Humiliation burned hotter than pain. "I'm sorry," Aisha whispered. The manager sneered. "You're fired." That was when Jin-Ho stood up. And the room froze. Before we go any further, if you enjoy stories where danger, obsession, and slow-burn tension collide, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss stories like this on Midnight Obsession Stories. Because what happens next changes everything. Music lowers, slow, ominous. Jin-Ho walked forward. Each step echoed. The manager laughed nervously. "Chairman Kang, this is staff business." Jin-Ho didn't look at him. He knelt in front of Aisha. Not a word. Just removed his jacket and draped it over her shaking shoulders. She looked up for the first time. Their eyes met. And the world tilted. "Stand up," he said gently in English. Her breath caught. As she rose, he stood with her. Then he turned. And that was when Seoul learned what it meant to cross Kang Jin-Ho. No one spoke. Not the manager. Not the guards. Not the men who had laughed moments earlier. Kang Jin-Ho stood with his hand resting lightly at Aisha's back, not touching her skin, but close enough that she felt the heat of him through the fabric of his jacket. "Repeat what you said," he told the manager. The man swallowed. "Chairman, I was just enforcing." "I didn't ask you to explain," Jin-Ho said calmly. "I asked you to repeat it." The silence stretched. Someone dropped a glass. It shattered, sharp and loud. Aisha felt her knees weaken. She wasn't used to being defended. Not like this. Not publicly. Not by a man whose name alone could ruin lives. The manager laughed weakly. "She's a maid. She broke rules. We can replace her." Jin-Ho finally looked at him. His gaze wasn't angry. It was empty. "You're right," Jin-Ho said softly. "She can be replaced." Aisha's heart sank. Then he continued. "You can't." He turned his head slightly, one small nod. The guards moved. The manager tried to step back. "Wait, Chairman Kang." A gun clicked. Not fired. Just enough. Take him outside, Jin-Ho said. Make sure he never manages staff again. The man screamed as he was dragged away. No one stopped it. No one dared. Jin-Ho turned back to Aisha. You're coming with me, he said. Her voice shook. I don't understand. You will, he replied. Soon. Minutes later, she was inside a black luxury car, leather seats cool beneath her fingers, city lights sliding past the tinted windows like another world. She clutched the jacket around her shoulders. Jin-Ho sat beside her, silent. Not touching, but closer than anyone had been in years. Why? She finally whispered. He looked straight ahead. Because you were fired unfairly. That's not true, she said quietly. People like me are always fired fairly. He turned then. Slowly. His eyes locked onto hers. Not in my presence. Her breath hitched. The car stopped at a private residence, hidden behind iron gates and tall trees. A safe house. Aisha knew because fear recognized fear. She followed him inside, heart racing. You're safe here, Jin-Ho said. For tonight. For tonight, she echoed. Yes. She laughed weakly. You sound like danger comes with a schedule. It does, he replied, and it's already late. He handed her a phone. Eat, shower, sleep. My men will explain the rest. What if I don't want to stay? She asked. His voice dropped. Then you will die. He said it without threat. Without drama. Just fact. Aisha nodded slowly. She believed him. That night, she sat alone on the edge of the bed, staring at the city lights through thick glass. Her phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. You should not have refused him. Her hands trembled. Another message followed. Unknown number. Chairman Kang cannot protect you forever. She deleted them. But fear stayed. In another part of the city, Kang Jin-Ho stood in a dark room, sleeves rolled up, tattoos visible under dim light. Who authorized touching her? He asked. No one answered. His cousin, Kang Min-yi, leaned against the wall, smirking. You're getting emotional, Min-yi said. That's dangerous. Jin-Ho looked at him. She belongs to no one, Min-yi continued. Least of all you. Jin-Ho stepped closer. Touch her again, he said quietly, and I will erase your name from this family. Min-yi's smile faltered. The war had begun. And Aisha, alone in a guarded room, had no idea that being fired was the moment her life collided with power, obsession, and blood. The first gunshot shattered the night at exactly 3:17 a.m. Aisha woke up gasping, heart slamming against her ribs as if it wanted to escape her chest. Another shot followed. Closer. Glass rattled. Somewhere downstairs, a man shouted in Korean. She jumped out of bed barefoot, the cold floor biting into her skin. This was a mistake. Staying here was a mistake. She reached for the door just as it burst open. Jin-Ho filled the doorway, dressed in black, a gun in his hand, his expression sharp and lethal. Stay behind me, he said. Before she could respond, the hallway lights cut out. Darkness swallowed everything. 3 things happened at once. A body slammed into the wall beside them. A gun fired inches from her ear. And Jin-Ho grabbed her wrist, pulling her hard against his chest. Down, he ordered. She dropped with him as bullets tore through the space where her head had been seconds earlier. Her breath came in broken gasps. I didn't sign up for this, she whispered, panic leaking into her voice. No, Jin-Ho said grimly. You were signed up. He fired twice, clean, precise. Silence followed, thick and heavy. Jin-Ho scanned the hallway, then turned to her. Are you hurt? She shook her head. His eyes searched her face anyway, intense, thorough, like he was checking for cracks in something precious. Move, he said. They ran. Bare feet slapped against marble, her lungs burned. Fear clawed at her throat. They reached a stairwell. An explosion rocked the building. Aisha screamed as the force knocked her forward. Jin-Ho caught her before she hit the ground, one arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her tight. "Listen to me," he said urgently, his mouth close to her ear. "No matter what happens, you do not let go of me." "I can't breathe," she choked. He adjusted his grip instantly, gentler. "I've got you," he said. "I won't let anything happen to you." She didn't know why she believed him. But she did. They escaped through a service exit, rain pouring down as if the sky itself was panicking. A black car skidded to a stop. "Get in," a man shouted. Jin-Ho shoved her inside, then slid in after her as bullets pinged off metal. The car roared forward. Aisha collapsed against the seat, shaking violently. Her hands were covered in someone else's blood. She stared at them, detached. "I think I'm going to throw up," she whispered. Jin-Ho took her hands gently, pulling them into his lap, wiping them with a cloth. "Breathe," he said, "slow with me." He demonstrated. In. Out. She followed, clinging to his voice like a lifeline. Minutes passed. The city blurred. Finally, she looked at him. "Who are you?" she asked. He hesitated, then said, "My name is Kang Jin-Ho." She waited. And people try to kill me. That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters tonight. They arrived at another location before dawn, smaller, quieter, hidden between warehouses. Inside, Jin-Ho locked the door himself. "You're not safe anywhere else," he said. "From now on, you stay with me." Her fear turned sharp. "You're kidnapping me." He met her gaze evenly. "I'm keeping you alive." She laughed bitterly. "That's a thin line." "Yes," he agreed. "I live on it." She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly aware of how close they were. "How many people died because of me tonight?" she asked. His voice softened. "None because of you. This was coming long before you existed in my world." She studied him. The calm, the control, the exhaustion beneath it. "You're not a businessman," she said slowly. "No." "You're not security." "No." Her chest tightened. "You're a criminal." "Yes." The words settled between them. Heavy. Dangerous. "I should run," she said. "You won't," he replied. "Why you so sure?" "Because you came to Korea to survive," he said quietly, "and survival brought you to me." She hated that he was right. A knock sounded at the door. Both of them stiffened. Jin-Ho lifted his gun. A voice called out, "It's clear, for now." Jin-Ho exhaled slowly, then lowered the weapon. He looked at Aisha again. "You saved my life tonight," he said. She frowned. "I did nothing." "You didn't scream," he said. "You didn't freeze, you listened, that matters." No one had ever praised her like that. The air shifted between them. Something dangerous. Something inevitable. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. And somewhere in the city, Kang Min-yi smiled, already planning his next move. Music fades into a low, ominous hum. If you're still here with us on Midnight Obsession Stories, you already know this is where the story stops being about escape and starts becoming about obsession. The warehouse smelled like oil, rain, and old secrets. Aisha sat on a narrow couch, her knees pulled to her chest, watching shadows move along the concrete walls as Jin-Ho's men checked exits, windows, corners. Everything was methodical, precise, like they were sealing a wound before it could bleed again. Jin-Ho closed the door behind them and finally allowed himself to breathe. "You can sleep here," he said, pointing to the couch. "I'll stay awake." "You don't sleep?" Aisha asked. "I do," he replied, "just not when people are hunting me." She nodded slowly. Silence filled the space, thick and awkward. She became painfully aware of him, of how tall he was even when relaxed, of the way his presence seemed to bend the room around him. of how safe and unsafe she felt at the same time. He removed his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. That's when she saw the blood. Her eyes widened. "You're hurt." He glanced down at his arm, where red seeped through torn fabric. "It's nothing." "It's bleeding," she said firmly. She stood before she could stop herself and reached for him. He froze. No one touched Kang Jin-Ho without permission. But he didn't pull away. She guided him to a chair. Her hands shook as she cleaned the wound with a cloth from the emergency kit nearby. "You're not shaking because of fear," he observed quietly. She swallowed. "I'm angry." "Why?" "Because I didn't choose this," she said. "I worked hard, I followed rules, I stayed invisible, and still my life exploded." Her voice cracked. Jin-Ho watched her carefully. "Invisibility doesn't protect you," he said. "It only delays impact." She tied the bandage tighter than necessary. He didn't flinch. "You talk like this is normal," she said. "For me, it is." "That's not normal," she snapped. He looked up at her then, eyes dark, unreadable. "Neither is surviving what you survived," he said. "Yet here you are." Her breath caught. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough," he replied. "You don't beg, you don't break, and you don't lie to survive." She stepped back, startled. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. "Why protect me?" Jin-Ho stood, closing the distance between them. "Because they hurt you," he said simply. "That's not." "And because," he continued, voice lower now, "when I saw you kneeling on that floor, something in me refused to let the world treat you as disposable." The words hit her harder than any threat. The air shifted between them. She could feel it. The pull. The danger. "You don't even know me," she whispered. "I know enough to know you matter," he said. She laughed softly, bitter. "To a man like you." He tilted his head. "Especially to a man like me." Her heart pounded. She took a step back. "This is a mistake." "Yes," he agreed. "But it's already happening." A phone buzzed. Jin-Ho answered immediately. Minnie's voice came through, smooth and amused. "You're hiding her," Minnie said. "That's adorable." Jin-Ho's jaw tightened. "Let her go," Minnie continued. "She's not worth a war." "She's not yours to touch," Jin-Ho said coldly. Silence. Then laughter. "You're changing, cousin," Minnie said. "That makes you weak." The call ended. Jin-Ho stared at the phone for a long moment. Then he turned to Aisha. "They won't stop," he said. "Not now." She nodded slowly. "Neither will I." Something flickered in his eyes. "Respect." "You're not a hostage," he said. "You're under my protection." "And the difference?" she asked. "You can walk away," he said. "But if you do, I won't be there when they come." She looked around the warehouse. At the guards. The locked doors. The man in front of her. Then she looked back at him. "I'm staying," she said. Not because she was afraid, but because for the first time in a long time, someone had chosen her. Jin-Ho inclined his head slightly. "Then we survive together," he said. Music swells gently, dangerous and intimate. Outside, the city slept. Inside, two worlds had collided. And neither of them would ever be the same. Morning came without sunlight. The warehouse windows were too high, too narrow, letting in only a dull gray glow that made time feel suspended. Aisha woke slowly, disoriented, her body heavy with exhaustion she hadn't allowed herself to feel the night before. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she smelled coffee. Fresh, strong. Normal. She followed the scent and found Jin-Ho standing by a small counter, sleeves rolled up again, one hand resting on the edge as the kettle clicked softly. He looked human like this, tired, focused, less like a weapon. "You didn't sleep," she said. He glanced at her. "I did, enough." "That's a lie." A corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile. "You're observant." She wrapped her arms around herself. I should thank you. For what? For not treating me like I'm fragile. He poured coffee into a chipped mug and handed it to her. You're not fragile. Their fingers brushed. Electric. She pulled back too quickly, heat flooding her cheeks. Silence settled again, but it was different now. Charged, aware. You need to know the truth, Jin-Ho said finally. Her stomach tightened. About what? About why this won't stop. He leaned against the counter, gaze steady. My cousin Min-yi isn't just reckless, he's ambitious, and he's been waiting for me to slip. She took a slow sip of coffee, grounding herself, and I'm the slip. No, Jin-Ho said firmly, you're the excuse. He continued, voice controlled but edged with something sharp. He's been moving against me for months, undermining deals, turning allies. You refusing him gave him a narrative, a way to provoke me publicly. Aisha felt cold, so he targeted me to get to you. Yes. And now? Now he thinks I've chosen you over the organization. She laughed once hollow. That's ridiculous. Jin-Ho's eyes darkened. Is it? The question hung between them. She set the mug down. You don't even know me. I know you were hurt, he said, and I know I can't undo that. Her throat tightened. Then why risk everything? He took a step closer. Because power means nothing if I allow cruelty in my shadow, he said. And because when I looked at you, I saw myself before I learned how to be ruthless. Her breath caught. That doesn't make sense, she whispered. It does to me. A phone rang sharply, cutting through the moment. Jin-Ho answered. His expression hardened with every word he heard. When he ended the call, his jaw was tight. They've found your apartment, he said. Her heart dropped. My things, my passport. Gone, he said, burned. She stared at him. You're telling me I don't exist anymore. I'm telling you, he said carefully, that your old life is over. Her legs felt weak. She sat down heavily. I never asked for this, she said, voice breaking. I never asked to be part of your war. I know, he said quietly. That's why I'm ending it. She looked up sharply. How? I'll make a deal, he said. I'll give Min-yi what he wants. Fear spiked. Which is? He met her eyes. Me. The room seemed to tilt. No, she said immediately. That's insane. It's strategy. It's suicide. He shrugged slightly. I've survived worse. She stood abruptly, anger flaring through fear. You think sacrificing yourself fixes this? You think I'll just, go back to cleaning floors while you die? His voice dropped. You'll be safe. That's not safety, she said fiercely. That's blood on my hands. They stared at each other, breath shallow. You don't get to decide my fate, she said. And you don't get to walk into mine unguarded, he replied. The tension snapped. You're not my savior, she said, and I'm not your weakness. He stepped closer, so close she could feel his breath. No, he said, you're my responsibility. Her voice trembled. I never wanted to matter to someone like you. His gaze softened, just a fraction. Neither did I, he admitted, but here we are. The air shifted again. Slow, dangerous, intimate. For a second, it felt like he might touch her. Instead, he stepped back. Pack what you need, he said. We move in an hour. To where? A place no one knows, he replied. Not even my men. Her pulse quickened. Just us. Yes. Fear and something else twisted together in her chest. Trust. Against her better judgment, she nodded. Outside, engines started. Somewhere in the city, Min-yi watched screens flicker with movement and smiled. Because Kang Jin-Ho was finally doing exactly what he wanted. And Aisha was about to learn how deep the war really went. They left before the city fully woke. No sirens. No convoy. Just one car. Rain traced thin lines down the windshield as Seoul blurred past, glass and concrete dissolving into gray. Aisha sat in the passenger seat, hands folded tightly in her lap, watching Jin-Ho from the corner of her eye. He drove in silence. Focused. Controlled. But something about him was different now. Less armored. "Where are we going?" she asked quietly. "North," he replied, far enough that the noise fades. She nodded, then hesitated, and after that, his jaw tightened slightly. "We'll see if the world lets us." They reached the outskirts by late morning. The city gave way to trees, old roads, mist clinging low to the ground. The safe house was small, almost modest. A single-story structure hidden behind tall pines, overlooking a narrow river that moved slowly, patiently. It felt peaceful. Too peaceful. Inside, the air was warm, clean, a place meant to disappear in. Aisha exhaled without realizing she'd been holding her breath. "This was my brother's," Jin-Ho said, setting his keys down. "Before everything." She looked at him. What happened to him? His voice was even, too even. He trusted the wrong people. She didn't push. Instead, she explored the space. A small kitchen, a couch, 2 bedrooms. 2. Her heart stuttered. "I'll take the couch," she said quickly. "No," he replied. "You'll take the room with a lock." She paused. "And you?" "I don't need one." That night, the rain returned. Aisha stood in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, moving automatically. Cooking grounded her. It gave her something solid to hold on to. Jin-Ho watched from the doorway. "You don't have to," he said. "I want to," she replied softly. They ate in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Later, she found him sitting on the floor, back against the couch, cleaning his gun. Methodical, calm. "Does it ever stop?" she asked suddenly. He looked up. "What?" "The violence," she said. "The waiting for the next attack." He considered her for a moment. "No." She nodded slowly. "Then why stay?" "Because someone has to control it," he said. "Otherwise men like Minyi decide what the world looks like." She studied him. "You're tired," she said. "Yes." "Scared." A pause. "For you," he admitted. Her chest tightened. She sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "I've been scared my whole life," she said quietly. "Of being sent back, of not being enough, of disappearing." He glanced at her. "You don't disappear." "People like me do," she replied. "Unless someone notices." His voice dropped. "I noticed." Silence wrapped around them. The storm outside softened to a steady rhythm. Aisha leaned her head back against the couch, eyes closing. Exhaustion finally won. She didn't realize she'd fallen asleep until she felt warmth. A blanket. Carefully placed. She opened her eyes just enough to see Jin-Ho standing over her, hesitation written in every line of his body. "Jin-Ho," she murmured. He froze. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you." "It's okay," she whispered. Their eyes met. This close, there was no distance left for denial. The air shifted between them again. Slow. Heavy. Unavoidable. "You should sleep," he said, voice low. "So should you." "I can't." "Then stay," she said before fear could stop her. He hesitated. Then, carefully, he sat beside her. Not touching, but close enough that she felt his presence like gravity. Minutes passed. "I don't belong here," she said suddenly. "You belong where you choose," he replied. She turned to him. "And what if I choose this?" His breath hitched. "That would be dangerous," he said. She smiled sadly. "Everything about you is dangerous." He looked at her like she was already lost. Outside, a branch snapped. Jin-Ho's body went instantly rigid. He was on his feet in a second, gun in hand. "Stay here," he ordered. But she followed anyway. They moved quietly to the window. 3 shadows. Too deliberate. Too close. "Minyi," Jin-Ho muttered. The calm shattered. Gunfire erupted. Glass exploded inward. Jin-Ho shoved Aisha down as bullets tore through the room. He returned fire, fast, lethal. "Run," he shouted. "I'm not leaving you," she yelled back. Another shot rang out. Jin-Ho staggered. Blood bloomed dark against his shirt. "No," Aisha breathed. She caught him as he fell, her hands slick with his blood. "Stay with me," she begged. "Please." He looked at her, pain etched deep, but his eyes were still sharp. "They're taking you," he said weakly, "if I don't stop them." "Then we stop them together," she said, tears falling freely now. Footsteps thundered closer. The door shook under impact. Jin-Ho forced himself upright, pushing her toward the back exit. "If they separate us," he said urgently, "don't wait, don't look back." "I won't leave you," she cried. He cupped her face briefly, his thumb brushing her cheek. "Live," he whispered, "even if it's without me." The door burst open. Smoke. Shouting. Chaos. Aisha was pulled backward as Jin-Ho turned to face them, gun raised, blood dripping onto the floor. The last thing she saw before darkness swallowed her was him standing between her and the world, wounded but unbroken. And somewhere deep inside her, something hardened. Because survival was no longer enough. Now she wanted him back. Aisha woke to darkness. Not the soft kind. The heavy kind that pressed against her chest and stole air from her lungs. Her wrists burned. Rope. Her head throbbed, every heartbeat echoing with pain. The smell hit next gasoline, damp concrete, old metal. A warehouse. Not the same one. Panic surged, sharp and fast. "Jin-Ho," she whispered. No answer. Memory crashed back in fragments. Gunfire. Blood. His body pushing her away. Hands grabbing her from behind. Her breath hitched. "No," she said aloud, voice breaking. "No, no, no." A light snapped on. Harsh, white. She squeezed her eyes shut, then forced them open. Kang Min-yi stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, expensive coat spotless, expression amused. "You cry prettier than I expected," he said casually. Her stomach twisted with hatred. "Where is he?" she demanded. Min-yi tilted his head. "Still alive. For now, you should be grateful." "If you touch him." He laughed. "You foreigners always think you have leverage." He stepped closer, crouching in front of her, invading her space. "You're impressive," he said. "Most women break by now." "I'm not most women," Aisha spat. His smile widened. "That's what makes this fun." He stood and circled her slowly. "You see, my cousin has a weakness," Min-yi continued. "He pretends he doesn't, pretends he's above it, but the moment you walked into his world, he started making mistakes." She glared at him. "He saved me." "No," Min-yi corrected. "He chose you, big difference." She swallowed hard. "What do you want?" He stopped in front of her. "A trade," he said. "You for his surrender." Her heart pounded. "And if he refuses?" Min-yi shrugged lightly. "Then you disappear, quietly." Fear curled in her chest, cold and suffocating. But beneath it, something else rose. Anger. Steel hard. "You think he'll come for me," she said slowly. Min-yi's eyes gleamed. "I know he will." She met his gaze, unflinching. "Then you've already lost." His smile faltered for just a second. Elsewhere, pain dragged Jin-Ho back to consciousness. White ceiling. The steady beep of a monitor. He tried to move. Agony tore through his side. "Don't," a voice said. "You'll reopen it." He turned his head. One of his men, bloodied, alive. "Where is she?" Jin-Ho demanded hoarsely. The man hesitated. Jin-Ho's eyes darkened. "Where is Aisha?" "She was taken," the man said quietly. "Min-yi." The room went very still. Jin-Ho closed his eyes once. When he opened them again, something inside him had shifted. Cold. Focused. Merciless. "Get me out of here," he said. "Boss, you're injured." "Now." Minutes later, he stood despite the pain, wrapping his wound tight, ignoring the dizziness. "They want to trade," his man said. "They sent a message." Jin-Ho read it. One line. "Come alone." He smiled. A dark, dangerous curve of the lips. "They still don't understand," he said softly. He picked up his gun. "No one takes what's mine." Back in the warehouse, Aisha sat alone again, hours passing in silence. Her wrists ached, her throat was dry. She forced herself to breathe. Think. She tested the rope slowly. Loose. Sloppy. Minyi underestimated her. A guard passed by the door. She waited. When he stepped inside to check on her, she moved. Fast. She kicked the chair back, lunged forward, slammed her bound hands into his throat with everything she had. He choked, stumbled. She grabbed his dropped knife, slicing the rope with shaking hands. Alarms sounded instantly. Footsteps, shouting. She ran. Barefoot, heart racing, fear fueling her legs. She didn't know where she was going. Only who she was running toward. Outside, engines roared. Gunfire erupted. And through the chaos, she saw him. Kang Jin-Ho. Standing in the open, blood still staining his shirt, gun raised, eyes locked on her. Relief slammed into her so hard, she nearly collapsed. Three things happened at once. Minyi shouted orders. Bullets flew from every direction. And Jin-Ho ran to her. He reached her, pulling her hard against his chest, shielding her with his body. "I told you to run," he said through clenched teeth. She laughed breathlessly, tears streaming. "I did toward you." He cursed softly. Then the world exploded. Fire. Smoke. Screams. Jin-Ho pushed her behind a concrete barrier. "Stay down," he ordered. "I can help," she shouted back. "You already are," he said, "by being alive." He moved like a force of nature. Strategic. Brutal. Unstoppable. Men fell. Minyi tried to escape. Jin-Ho caught him. They faced each other amid smoke and sirens. "This was never about her," Minyi sneered. "It was about you losing control." Jin-Ho raised his gun. "No," he said quietly. "It was about you forgetting your place." The shot echoed. When it was over, Jin-Ho returned to Aisha. She stood on shaking legs. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then she collapsed into him. He held her like he might never let go. Later, as dawn broke, they sat together on the edge of an ambulance. "You should leave," he said quietly. "Start over somewhere safe." She turned to him. "I already chose," she said. "I choose you." His breath caught. "You don't know what that costs." She smiled through tears. "Neither did you." He reached for her hand. This time, he didn't pull away. If this story has you holding your breath right now, stay with Midnight Obsession Stories. Comment below what you think happens next, because peace has a price, and they're about to learn it. They took him away in the ambulance first. Aisha tried to follow, panic clawing up her throat, but a paramedic gently stopped her. "He's stable," the woman said. "You can see him soon." Soon felt like a lie. Aisha sat on the curb, wrapped in a blanket that smelled faintly of smoke and antiseptic, hands trembling now that the danger had passed. Adrenaline drained out of her body, leaving exhaustion and fear in its place. She stared at the sky as it slowly brightened. She had been invisible for most of her life. Tonight, the city had burned because of her. At the hospital, everything was white and cold and too clean. Machines hummed, shoes squeaked, voices stayed low, respectful, afraid. People knew who Kang Jin-Ho was. They didn't say his name, but they felt it. When they finally let her in, he was unconscious, bandaged, breathing steadily. Alive. Relief hit her so hard her knees nearly gave out. She sat beside him, carefully, like she was afraid the world might punish her for touching him. His hand lay open on the sheet. Strong, scarred. She took it. His fingers curled instinctively, even in sleep. Her eyes filled. "You're not allowed to leave me," she whispered. "You already used up all your chances." Hours passed. She didn't move. When he finally woke, it was slow. Confused. Then his eyes focused. On her. "You didn't listen," he murmured weakly. She laughed softly, crying at the same time. "I never said I would." He tried to sit up. She pressed him gently back. "Don't," she said. "Doctor's orders." He frowned slightly. "You're here." "Yes." "Alive." "Yes." Something in his chest eased. He closed his eyes for a moment, breathing her in like proof. "They're gone," he said quietly. "Minyi and the others." She nodded. "It's over." He opened his eyes again, searching her face. "No," he said. "It's changed." Days passed. News traveled fast in Jin-Ho's world. Allies realigned. Enemies disappeared into silence. His organization tightened, sharper and cleaner than before. He didn't rule from fear anymore. He ruled from certainty. Aisha stayed with him in a guarded apartment overlooking the river. Not hidden, protected. For the first time, she wasn't cleaning someone else's mess. She was choosing her own place in the world. One evening, as the city lights shimmered below them, she stood by the window, arms crossed, thoughtful. "You know," she said, "I used to believe survival was enough." Jin-Ho leaned against the wall, watching her. "And now? Now I think survival without being seen is just another kind of disappearance." He stepped closer. "You are seen," he said, "by me." She turned to face him. "That scares me." "Good," he replied softly. "It should, anything real does." Silence stretched between them, but it wasn't empty. It was full. Memory. Fear. Want. "There's something you should know," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "That sounds dangerous." He almost smiled. "I won't step away from this world," he said. "I can make it better, safer, but I won't lie to you about what I am." She considered him carefully. "I don't need you to be good," she said. "I need you to be honest." He nodded. "And I need you to know," she continued, voice steady, "that I won't be owned. Not by fear, not by power, not by you." His gaze was intense, but approving. "I would never cage you," he said, "even if it meant losing you." Her heart softened. "That," she said quietly, "is why I'm still here." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His hand rested at her waist, warm, grounding. Her fingers curled into his shirt. The kiss came gently. Not desperate. Not rushed. A promise, not a claim. Later that night, as they sat together in the quiet, Aisha rested her head against his shoulder. "What happens now?" she asked. He looked out over the city he ruled, and the woman he chose. "Now," he said, "we build something that doesn't need to hide." She smiled faintly. "That sounds like a lot of work." He kissed the top of her head. "I've never been afraid of work." Music softens, hopeful but still edged with danger. Months later, the headlines changed. Less blood. Fewer disappearances. People whispered that Kang Jin-Ho had changed. They weren't wrong. He had. Because power is dangerous. But love is a choice. And Aisha chose to stay. Not because she was protected, but because she was free. If this story stayed with you, if it made you feel something real, share it with someone who loves dangerous love stories, and comment the moment that hit you the hardest. Because some stories don't just end. They stay with you.